online webcast. I want to thank you all for joining me, especially for those people who just spread out all over the world. So thank you so much for being here with me tonight. I have a couple announcements. I will be at the Unity of Marin Church in San Rafael, California, on March 22nd at 5:30 p.m. So I think that's in about a month or so. I'll be traveling to California and be teaching a class there. So if any of you live in Northern California, you're welcome to come join me on Sunday, March 22nd at 5:30. There's details on my website about that. Also, this satsang is supported in two ways, really. One by your donations, which I deeply appreciate. And so you're welcome to, on my YouTube channel, there's a place where you can, on the side, you can click support and you can offer a donation there. And also on my web page, there is a link to enter in a donation for a PayPal account. So and your contributions are greatly helpful. So thank you so much for all of you who donated this last time. Also, the other way this satsang is supported is through the new school that I'm creating, the Satori School of Embodied Awakening. And so basically what that is it's a school for people who want to deeply connect, who want to connect more with the teacher. And again, there's all kinds of information on my website about that. And so one of the things I'm going to be doing on some of these online satsangs is to be offering the exercises for the students in that program. And so I'm just starting the program, and over the last month or so, someone came to me and they said, well, Craig, Mercury is in retrograde. And I said, okay, I'm not really much of an astrology kind of guy, but I realized all these technology issues that I was having, and clients of mine were having, and friends of mine were having, and I realized, okay, so that's what this is all about. And so the last couple of weeks I've been trying to get it all set up on my website, but I've been running into all kinds of technology things. And so people have been trying to sign up and said, hey, where's the form and where's this and that. And so it's coming, so don't worry. Some of you have already joined the program and have started your sessions, and so that's wonderful. And so tonight I'm going to begin to offer some practices that you can do, and it's especially geared to those in the school. But of course, many of you who are not in the school, you can just get a taste of, say, what we'll be doing, and you're welcome to join at any time. So just say putting that out there. But basically the school is about someone who wants to connect in a deeper way with the teacher, who wants to have some ongoing support, to be able to do Skype sessions, to have a little bit more direction in the path, and to be challenged. And so if that interests you, then just send me an email and I'll put you on the list. And when I get it all going, on the website, I'll let everyone know. But I'm hoping in the next week or so, I should have the kinks worked out. But so in the meantime, one of the first things that I wanted to work with, and of course, this is probably the most beneficial practice that we can do, is simply being willing to step out of our mind and to wake up to our innate divinity, to our innate goodness, to discover what we truly are beyond mind and beyond emotions. And so, the first question that I have tonight, for you, is what is the direct experience of your true nature? What is that like? And so oftentimes when I ask my students this, or ask people who come see me on Skype or in satsang this, oftentimes they just rattle off an answer like, I am emptiness, or I am oneness, or I am, whatever. And so I'm not looking for that kind of answer, because that's an answer that comes from our mind. What I'm looking for is, what is the direct experience of yourself? What is your essence like? What do you feel like? And again, not in an emotional way, not in a thinking way, but your nature. So if you just take a deep breath and just say, feel into yourself. What is that like? Can you feel your innocence? Can you feel your sweetness? Can you feel this awake sense of aliveness? Can you feel a sense of, say, spaciousness, like the spaciousness of awareness? Or is there something in the way preventing you from that? And of course, by that something in the way, I don't mean, something real, but say something imagined. Do you have a thought about yourself that you're holding on to? Like, I'm no good, or, I need to first prove myself. I need to first meditate in a certain way. I need to first forgive myself, or whatever it is. And so you may have a thought there that says, I need to do something first before I can fully be myself. But this is one of the greatest illusions that our mind has, that we have to somehow figure something out before we can be what we already are. I mean, it's crazy. And so I invite you, in the most basic way, to become very quiet, to unhook from your mind, to unhook from that sentimentality, and just notice, what is the experience of me like? Before thought, before emotion. Sometimes when we're driving across country on a road trip, we become just really quiet and say we see the hugeness of the sky. Like, I spend a lot of time, say, driving across the desert. My travels, I live right on the edge of the mountains and the deserts, and so when I go and teach in California, I drive across this big desert. I become very quiet. It's hard to distract myself with anything. I just noticed it's just this hugeness, this aliveness. And so can we notice that as well? It's here in every moment. We seem to miss it. We seem to miss it when we get carried away in our story, when we get carried away in our thoughts, when we get carried away in whatever it is that we do. And so, say the first practice or the first teaching that I offer is, can we wake up to our essential nature? Can we plant our feet here? And can we begin to see life from this? So many of our problems are solved if we just wake up to what we are. If we're willing to step into what we are. If we're willing to give ourselves over fully to what we are. So many of us, unconsciously, we have just given ourselves over to the movement of our minds. We've given ourselves over to the things that people have taught us or told us about ourselves. And so we've spent years of our life believing these thoughts of unworthiness or whatever it is. And as we do so, we greatly suffer. We create this huge sense of division. And so the invitation here is can we just stop and notice this alive sense of divinity pouring through your veins right now? And if you're having trouble with this, You may ask yourself, just in a deep way, in a contemplative way, why? Why do I struggle with this? Why is it hard for me to see my divinity? Why is that difficult? Oftentimes people tell me, they come to me and they try to tell me that they're somehow broken or somehow they're deeply lost or confused or there's something inherently wrong with them. And to me, I see the absolute opposite. There is something inherently right with you. There's something inherently perfect with you. There's something inherently beautiful about you. And so I'm inviting you to wake up to that. And the way we wake up to that is we come into our heart and we see ourselves through the lens of our heart. We see ourselves without judgment. And we experience ourselves in an embodied way, in a full way. And if you're doing this for the first time, you may notice that it takes your breath away. My God, I had no idea I was so beautiful. I had no idea I was so vast. I had no idea my consciousness was so huge. And so the reason most of us don't see this is because so much of our humanity is in pain. So much of our humanity is struggling. And so I guess the second really big question is what is it that's within you that you're struggling with? And how do you relate to it? How do you relate to it? How do you relate to your very humanity? I'm always amazed. Some people tell me they hate their humanity. It's such an act of violence to hate your own humanity. Or to judge yourself, to be harsh with yourself, to be angry at yourself, to have such high expectations about yourself. And all these ideas, we get all these ideas from our parents, from our schools, from our education, from our life. And if you listen to these, well, you'll suffer. You'll be in great pain, tremendous pain. And so these are some questions you can deeply reflect upon. Between now and say the next song, I mean, you're welcome to reflect on them at any time you like in life. But the core teaching tonight is, what am I most essentially? What is the direct experience of my nature like? And here's a hint: it's always something good. It's always something divine. It's always something beautiful. If it's something ugly, oftentimes that's our egoic nature, which is layered on top of our divinity. And so even that too is divine because it was given to us by God. Our humanity, our conditioning was given to us by God. And so can we love that as well? Can we meet that with peace as well? You're welcome to try to transcend it. You're welcome to try to judge it. You're welcome to try to get rid of it. But I imagine you will fail miserably. I was speaking with someone earlier today, and they told me that they were doing the work of Byron Katie. They were unable, to say outsmart their humanity, despite doing the work, despite seeing it clearly. They were unable to fix it, to fix themselves. And so if that's the case, we need to be willing to meet ourselves with love. If there's something within you that's repetitive, there's an aspect of yourself that you hate, I encourage you to meet it with love, to forgive yourself, to honor yourself, to be sweet with yourself and gentle with yourself, and to be willing to fully listen to whatever anxiety or pain or panic is within you, and see what's there, see what it has to teach you. See what it has to teach you. And so as we heal these things, then it's much easier for us just to rest as our essential nature. And so, I want to look at my notes here. And the idea is can we fully let go into our divinity and allow this divinity to pour forth into our life? Allow this divinity to meet our pain, to meet our sadness, our anger. Can we allow this peace which we are? Tonight I'm feeling such an alive peace. Can we allow this peace to flood our experience? And what that means practically is if there's pain within us, if there's agitation or worry, can we align with our peace, allow that worry to come forward, and allow that worry to dissolve, to actually dissolve within the space of peace? Can we allow our anger to come forward and dissolve within the space of peace? Can we allow our lack of patience to come forward and dissolve within the space of peace? Can you allow everything that troubles you to come forward and just be met with this love? Because that's what this peace is. This peace is like a vast expanse of love. It has room for everything. Can you allow the hugeness of your divine nature meet every aspect of yourself until there's no longer any division between your humanity and your divinity? And so this is the practice, of waking up to your divinity, and then allowing this divinity to be reflected in your everyday life, to allow this divinity to flood your everyday life. If you do so, your life will radically change. But if you choose to instead just be lost in your mind, or to agree with your mind, or to listen to all your thoughts and allow them to define you, to listen to all the thoughts and judgments of the past and allow those things to define you, then you will absolutely suffer. It will be a painful reality. It's a reality that most of the world lives in. And so the practice is can you just rest in this space of what you are? And say throughout the day, if you get busy, that you just notice that busyness. You say, oh, I'm feeling tight, I'm feeling tense. Can I slow down? Just a little bit. You don't have to slow down to a stop. If you have time for that, that's beautiful. But can you slow down? And again, just notice your nature. What is my nature like right now? What is the quiet presence looking out of my eyes? What is that? Can I give myself over to that? And again, unhook from my mind. Unhook from this craziness that I find myself living in. And so this is the first practice. And then the second practice is just noticing, how does this space, the space of my true nature, how does it relate to my humanity? So we all know the way that our ego relates to our humanity. It's judging, it's critical, or it's getting really big and really proud, being very arrogant or puffed up, being guarded, being defended, being argumentative. That's how the ego relates to itself and how it relates to others. And of course, we know what happens when we are guarded, defended, and argumentative. It's painful. It's a hell world. And so the invitation here is, can you step into your divinity and just ask, how would my divinity relate to my own pain? How would my divinity relate to my wife? How would my divinity relate to my husband? How would my divinity relate to my crying child? How would my divinity relate to my boss, my parents, who drive me crazy, or whatever it is? How does this divinity relate to life? And allow this divinity to lead us, to guide us. Can we be so humble? Can we be so sincere to allow this force to lead us, to move us? And so this is the practice. So those of you who are in the program, you're welcome to email me. You're welcome to keep a journal and just to deeply sit with these questions and reflect upon them. And so when we contemplate something, we reflect upon it not just for a split second, but for hours, for days, for weeks, for months. So oftentimes I'd go to my teacher and he'd ask me a question. 20 years later, he was still asking me the same questions. And so for 20 years, I'm reflecting on these questions. And I'm sure I'll be reflecting on them for 20 more. But not in some mental way, but in a way of, how does God act through me? How does God live through me? How does my divinity meet someone? And so we sit with these questions and we allow these questions to lead us, to guide us, and to go deep into them. This world is about growth. It's about evolution. It's about expression. So how do I express myself in this world? These are deep questions we can contemplate. How do I express my divinity in my life? Is my divinity and humanity, are they lined up? And so I invite you to play with some of these questions and let me know how it goes. You can talk to me about them in your Skype sessions or in your emails or in the forum or whatever. Part of having a teacher is having someone to challenge you a little bit. To invite you to look in places where perhaps you haven't been looking. And so this is, say, the first thing that we're going to play with. And then also, I have a bunch of emails that I've received from people, so I'm going to get to those in just a minute. I'm just checking my notes again. I noticed that at this week in my sessions, I met with so many people who were struggling with issues of self-worth. And so this question kept coming forward again and again, so I thought I'd talk about it tonight. It's basically, how does my self-worth relate to spirituality? And so that was one question. And so, I just noticed that a lot of people don't trust their own intelligence. So this was quite an interesting thing for me, because I was thinking, what must it be like to not trust your own voice? So when you don't trust your own voice, when you don't know that you are good, when you don't know that you're okay, well, that's a recipe for, say, supreme insecurity. Because basically you're looking to the outside world to tell you what to do, tell you how to be, tell you what's right, tell you what's wrong, tell you if you're good or you're worthy or if you're lovable. And so when they tell you you're lovable, oh, I love you so much, and you light up, and you're like, oh, I'm so happy, things are so good. And then when they leave or they die or whatever, they disappear if they run off with someone new, then your self-worth goes with them. And so to live in this way is to live in a way is deeply, say, powerless. Like you don't have any power. It's hard to have any power if you've given it all away. And of course, maybe I shouldn't say giving it all away, because perhaps maybe you never knew you had it. And so some of us were born into families where we had parents who didn't show up, who weren't there, or who died, or whatever, disappeared, went off to war, or were lost in their own pain. And so when this happens, as a child, in an egoic sense, we have the feeling that we are unworthy of love. That truth isn't meant to be found within. That our opinions don't matter. That we don't know what's right from wrong. When someone's telling us that we're bad, or we're no good, or I was at a party a number of months ago, and there was this, it was like a some sort of family party, and I showed up with, say, my family, my kids, and there was this other family there, and there was a woman there who brought a child, and she was constantly telling the child she didn't belong here. She needed to be quiet. She wasn't allowed to speak. She had to just sit quietly on the couch, and she couldn't say or do anything. And it just broke my heart to see this, to hear this. I just wanted to tell the child, hey, you're fully welcome here. You're fully worthy to be here. Don't listen to. It wasn't her mother. It was like a grandmother or something. And I looked at the grandmother, and I saw that she was in such pain. So grandma was in such pain and felt so insecure and so out of place in her own self, in her own life. You could just see it in her face. There was just a sense of heaviness and weight. And so she was in pain, and she was projecting this onto her little, I guess maybe it was her grandchild. And God, it just about broke my heart. And that she talked to a kid in such a way. But the more I talk to people, I'm finding that so many people are talked to that way. And that you don't deserve to be here. And so this is the opposite of what God is telling us in every day. God in every day is telling us, I love you, I accept you, I honor you. I have made you in my image and likeness. And so in a sense, to believe in our unworthiness is to believe, say the opposite of what God believes, what God thinks. So to me, to be spiritual, to awaken to our divinity, we have to fully know that what we are is good, that our hearts are good. Even if in our humanity we've done terrible things in our life, but that in our essence we are absolutely good, we are absolutely perfect, we are absolutely divine. We are worthy of being here, we are worthy of speaking. We are worthy of our opinions. Of having opinions, expressing opinions, of having preferences. And that there's a wonderful flow of intelligence and wisdom within our own heart. And one of the other things I've heard this week is I've been hearing lots of stories of people going and seeing various spiritual teachers, and the teachers telling them these terrible things. Belittling them, or telling them how they need to live, or in condescending ways, or whatever it is, or, playing power games. And someone who has unworthiness issues oftentimes will listen to that teacher and do what they say because they don't have a strong enough discernment within them the voice of truth isn't strong enough within them to say, hey, like, I don't actually think that's the truth for me. Thank you for your opinion, but it doesn't really resonate with me. So if you have a strong sense of self-worth, you know what's true. You know right from wrong. You know what's up from down. You're not looking so much to the outside. You're not looking for a partner to complete you. You find completion in your own heart. You find love in your own heart. You find truth in your own heart. And so again, that's why I like to start with that first exercise of waking up to your own divinity, waking up to your innate divinity, looking inside and realizing all wisdom, all goodness, all truth is within me. It's not outside of me. And if a spiritual teacher does anything for you, hopefully they just remind you of that, to listen to your heart, to fall in love with your divinity, to trust yourself. Not to trust, say, all the crazy voices in your mind or the crazy emotions that move through you, but to trust that basic sense of truth in your heart, to honor that, to listen to that, to follow that. And so, yeah, I just thought I'd speak about that a little bit, just because it came up so much in my sessions recently. So many people struggling with self-worth. And so the invitation is can you fully see yourself? Can you fully honor yourself? Both your absolute divinity and the places within yourself which you wish did not exist. Can you see your ugliness? Can you see your vulnerability? Can you see the parts of yourself that you feel are broken or jaded or whatever? Can you see them? Can you honor them? Can you listen to them? Can you meet them with a total love? Can you breathe into them? Can you feel their pain? Can you allow their pain to be released from your being? And so this is how you heal unworthiness, is through taking the time to honor the parts of you which you wish did not exist, to meet them with love and to show them that they are worthy of love, that they are worthy of attention, they are worthy of peace, that they are worthy of resolution. So this is my invitation to you, if this is something you struggle with, is can you meet your own pain with love? Okay, so I'm looking at the questions here, and so I think this is another question. I received so many emails, but I kind of condensed them all. And so the first question, I think this is what I was just speaking about. Craig, it seems like many teachers speak about getting rid of ego. You speak about supporting the ego. I've tried so many years to get rid of myself, but my internal voices seem to be only getting louder. You speak about supporting the ego. And so I speak about supporting the healthy aspects of our ego and listening to the deeply painful aspects of ego. And so, I'll just speak about that for just another minute or two. So you want to have a healthy sense of self. If you're always trying to get rid of yourself, it's an act of violence. It's an act of, well, let's say it's the opposite of love. And so can you love just your basic humanity? Can you support your basic humanity? Can you treat yourself in healthy and supportive ways? So that's saying that sense of supporting the ego. And so supporting the ego means you listen to your internal voice, the voice of truth within you, and you allow that truth to lead you, to guide you. It doesn't mean you listen to all the crazy voices, but as those crazy voices come forward, you might just notice, like, why am I so agitated? And not just dismiss the agitation or try to transcend the agitation, but look at it and say, what's at the root of this agitation? Guaranteed the agitation will continue to come again and again and again, if it's persistent, if it's something deep, until you meet it with love and discover what it's truly about. So sometimes there's things that just arise within us, deeply, say, repressed, painful aspects of ourselves. So say the critic comes forward. You have just a very judgmental mind. It's really attacking you, and it's this internal war. There's going to be the tendency to want to just see it and dismiss it and get rid of it or avoid it or whatever somehow. But my invitation is just to become quiet, to say, slow down with it, and just ask it. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to show me? But you have to be open-hearted when you ask this question. Why are you trying so hard to defend me? Why are you trying so hard to control my behavior? You'll notice it'll speak to you. It'll say something like, I don't feel safe. I'm scared. I'm afraid we'll never find someone to be in a relationship, whatever. And so we want to deeply honor these, the truth of these movements. And by that I mean you listen to them and you say, oh, I see. I see you're scared. And can you breathe into that fear? Gently let that fear know that it's okay. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. Of course, the okay is coming from the goodness of your heart that we initially started with. It's not some mental okay that you just make up. You say, oh yeah, we're okay, we're okay, we're okay, when deeply you don't feel okay. So this is realizing you're okay and transmitting that sense of okayness to your fear. Yeah. And so, as far as say getting rid of ego, I don't believe in getting rid of ego. If there's aspects of your ego that are broken, jaded, in pain, whatever, if you meet them with love, they heal, and then they just naturally integrate in a really healthy way. In a really healthy way. And then you just have, say, a naturally healthy, functioning self, minus all, say, the loud voices and confusion of a jaded or broken egoic nature. I hope that makes sense. Okay, here's another question. What can I do when my energy is stuck or I am depressed? That's a great cool struggle with. And so if you find yourself depressed, I'd encourage you to do, say, the opposite. To become active, and to use a strength of will, and get out and exercise, run around, mix it up. But don't listen to those voices within you that are telling you, I have to stay in bed, I can't leave the house, nobody loves me, whatever. I'd encourage you, say, to do the opposite. Get out of the house, go out, run around in the sunshine, go to the beach, go to the ocean, go to the mountains, go hang out with some friends, do anything just to get that energy moving. Get that energy moving. And so that's just like something you can play with, just a real practical sense. It's very hard to be depressed if you're moving. It's a funny thing, if you just go to the gym and work out, it's very hard to be depressed anymore. It's very hard to be depressed when you're working out, when you're running around. So that's, just a practical thing to do. Of course, you don't want to believe your thoughts or listen to your thoughts. But also, you may just become quiet and just take some time and look and see if there's any aspect of yourself that's either consciously or unconsciously repressing a feeling. Like oftentimes what I find with people who have depression is depression is just a symptom of having a lot of anxiety. And so then you look at, okay, well, what is anxiety then? Oh, anxiety is a lot of energy in my body. What is this energy trying to tell me? What is this energy trying to show me? Can I open to this energy? Can I learn from this energy? The tendency of your mind will be just to label the energy, depression, and then, stay in bed. Or if you get past the depression and see it as anxiety, say, oh, this is anxiety. Now I need to take a pill, or I need to run away, or I need to distract myself from this. And so if you just do those things, you'll never heal. So if you feel stuck in something, I want you to almost like to say to lift the veil, to look into the very thing you're stuck with. Say, what is this energy about? What's here? What can I learn from this? What is this here to show me? If I look at this new with fresh eyes, what does this energy have to teach me, to show me? What great mystery is in this energy that I'm afraid to see, or that I don't want to see? What do I know that I don't want to know? And allowing that truth to come forward, allowing that truth to speak to you. What do I know that I don't want to know? I can remember, a long time ago when I felt deeply stuck in a relationship. I just knew this relationship was just over. There's nothing, there was no way it was ever going to work out. But I just stayed in it. And I became depressed because I was staying in the relationship and I was unwilling to change. And so I was actively repressing my feelings. I was actively repressing this truth that said, I know this is done, but I stayed anyways. And so at some point I couldn't keep the lid on it any longer. I looked in there and it said, this is done. And I said, okay. And then I had to be willing to walk through this painful door. And so oftentimes it takes a great deal of courage to really look in this way, in an open-hearted way, to know something you don't want to know. The courage to be willing to walk through a door of, say, pain or sadness, of letting go, or of, say, walking into the vast unknown. And so, yeah, this is a great question. Okay, and then someone said to me, you spoke about inertia and karma. What do you mean by this? So if we look at karma, I get a lot of questions about karma. And karma is oftentimes, it's like this force of inertia. And it can be, say, good inertia, bad inertia, positive inertia, negative inertia, whatever. And so if we're going to live in an awake way, we realize that one of the functions of awareness is the power of choice. And so to break up inertia, say of a negative habit, we use the power of choice to choose something positive. We choose to do the opposite. We choose to do something different. We choose to do something in alignment with our heart. When you choose to do something in alignment with your heart and you continue to make that choice over and over and over again, you create a different karmic pattern. A pattern in alignment with truth, in alignment with the heart, in alignment with the highest expression of divinity. And so if this world is truly going to change, if this world is truly going to evolve, we have to be willing to use the power of choice to choose what's in alignment with our heart. In a sense, this relates back to that former question. If you feel stuck in depression, if you feel stuck in your past, in your pain, in samsara, we're kind of stuck in this loop that's just spinning over and over again. That's inertia. It's like a heavy weight. It's just spinning over and over again. Over and over again. We feel like we can't get off, say this wheel. Can't get off the wheel of samsara. And I'm telling you, in any moment we have the choice just to step right off. It's that simple. Just stepping off, saying no to one thing and yes to another. It may be hard, it may be difficult, it may feel like it's this huge weight or we can't do it. You absolutely can. We all have choice. We all have free will. It's a function of our essential nature. In any moment, we can stop and say no. No matter how much karma or conditioning is within us, we can say no. And so it's a willingness to align with your heart, to ask what's true, and to act accordingly. As you do, you create a whole different kind of inertia. Okay, I think this next question, it was again about the work with Byron Katie, and I love Byron Katie's work. And I've used it often with my own self and found it incredibly helpful. What a lot of people complain about is that it doesn't get to the root of the thing, and the issue keeps coming back again and again. And like I was saying before, is we have to be willing to meet our pain on an emotional level, meet it at its root, and help it to release at its root. And oftentimes that takes a willingness to feel the pain, to feel the fear, to feel the sadness, and gently watch it release from our being. And the way we do that is say we don't align with the story. And if you do the work by Byron Katie, and for those of you who are unfamiliar with that, it basically means you question your own thoughts. Is this thought I'm thinking true? Is it actually true? When you see it's not true, but then it keeps coming back more and more, you can find its root within you. You can find the root of the pain within you. And then just treat it like a child, like, hey, like, what do you need? Oh, I'm in this deep fear. Well, what do you need? I need someone to love me. I need someone to see me. I need someone to hold me. And so then the invitation is, can you be that person for yourself? Can you hold yourself? Can you embrace your pain? Can you protect those places within you, your humanity, from harm? And you do that, again, not from your mind, but from the goodness of your heart, from the hugeness of your divinity. Okay, great. And so now I have a couple longer questions. And this one is Tom. And Tom said, Hi, Craig. I've had this question I've been unable to answer for myself for 30 years. So I'm hoping you'll be able to look into this. I'm just going to go ahead and read the email. It's a little bit long, but I really like this email. Many years ago, when the great J. Krishnamurti had his annual meeting in Brookwood, UK, I went along to hear several of these wonderful meetings. One in particular had a big effect on me and brought about a big awakening. During the discourse, I began to feel a huge surge of energy, starting deep inside and gradually rising up the right side of my body and into the brain. The energy and the vibrations were extremely strong and powerful, and with it came a totally indescribable feeling of ecstasy and bliss. And so I get a lot of questions about this. People who have had these huge spiritual experiences, and they're actually quite common. And so I just want to really acknowledge that. And so I'm kind of switching gears here in the questions, but this is what's come up. So this for me was a totally magical time, feeling totally in love with the world, people, and everything. I felt totally alive and magical. The ecstasy was very intense, uncontainable, almost unbearable at times. Sleeping at night was very difficult. The ecstasy and bliss continued for several months. During this period, it felt as if deep changes were happening, and a large chunk of the separate identity had vanished and dropped forever. Daily living now is almost felt fully consciously with no separateness or division. There's a feeling of that everything is okay, and over a living backdrop of being totally content. The feeling of bliss, however, has totally vanished and has never returned. The powerful vibration and energy within the body have also disappeared. So my question is if bliss is only a product, like a byproduct, of the flowing energy during the awakening process, or whether it is actually possible to live in ecstasy, in that ecstasy and bliss without the energy being present. Okay, so that's a great question. So basically, the question is it possible to live in bliss? Or is bliss just, say, a byproduct of awakening? And so I would say yes, that both are true. And so I'll go into that a little bit. So when we have a huge spiritual awakening, whether it's, say, from the transmission of a teacher, and sometimes people come to me in satsang and, all of a sudden they'll start laughing hysterically. I realize, say, that the walls of the ego have dropped and there's been a rush of energy that's come forward. They feel a huge sense of relief. Maybe they have some kundalini energy going up their spine, and they open, say, to cosmic consciousness or kundalini consciousness, or whatever. There's a million things we can open to. And so as this surge of energy comes, oftentimes it's experienced as incredibly blissful, incredibly euphoric, incredibly wonderful. And then that'll happen for a period of time, whether it's 30 seconds or, in some cases, years. And so for me, when I had Kundalini awakening happen, the bliss, it just went on for years. And of course, there were times when I didn't experience it, but for the majority of the time, it was just felt like overwhelming euphoria. Overwhelming euphoria. And so then at some point, that euphoria, it just became, say, a natural experience in my everyday life. And now, I notice it, but I don't feel overwhelmed by it. Or, actually, sometimes I do, but it's not like in those first couple of years where I just felt totally overwhelmed by it all the time. And so I say my question to you, Tom, is are you sure that bliss isn't here right now? Are you sure? It may not be, say, the same overwhelming bliss where it's just, say, just like blowing, out of every circuit of your being. But if you become very quiet, you said there's a peace here, a sense of okay, and everything being totally content. But if you notice in that space of okayness, if you feel into the okayness, can you notice that okayness is gently vibrating with bliss? Can you notice that? And so I'd invite you just today to sit with this for some time. Notice, like, say, the energy of peace. Is the peace I'm experiencing cold and dead? And if it does, oftentimes that's a transcendent peace. And for some people, the transcendent peace is experienced today. It's just kind of like empty. But as you invite that peace down into you in a deeper way, notice it feels very alive. It's not cold and dead peace. It's very much alive. And so we can all just notice this right now. You don't have to have a huge spiritual awakening to notice this. But God, the experience of God, the experience of our true nature, is both vast emptiness and, say, blissful aliveness. Bliss is the energy that makes up our being, that animates our being, that animates creation. And I've always found that bliss is here. Absolutely. If I just become very quiet, if I miss it, and I just become very quiet, I just feel into the aliveness of my being. Just it's just vibrating with bliss. Sometimes it's overwhelmingly vibrating with bliss. I've been experiencing a lot of bliss lately. But you can't separate bliss from what you are. And so it may not be just some crazy, overwhelming, rush of energy. That oftentimes is Kundalini energy, and Kundalini energy tends to have a rush to it. But after that energy settles down and integrates, you just may notice if you become very quiet, and very sensitive with the energy. Yes, oh yes, look, this bliss is here. And if it's not here, oftentimes it's pointing to the fact that we're not embodied, that we're not fully embodied. And by that I mean we're not, say, totally open in our heart. And I don't mean that in any judgmental way, but just, maybe just look into that for yourself. When your heart is totally open, you experience overwhelming intimacy with everything. And then there's a sense of non-division with life. It's not a cold and dead non-division. It's a sense of beauty, aliveness, a sense of love. It tends to overflow from you. So you may just play around with this and just notice, is there anywhere in my heart which I'm avoiding? Is there any pain within me which I'm avoiding? It's a funny thing, when we embrace our pain, we open to our beauty, we open to our divinity, we open to our bliss. Because intimacy, it's not biased. By that I mean, see, a heart awakening is an awakening of intimacy. The ego has a strong bias against pain. So if there's pain in the heart, or unconsciousness in the heart, or heaviness in the heart, we tend to stay away from the heart and just kind of stay up here in like a transcendent peace. But I invite you just to open in your heart, even open to your own pain, to meet it with love fearlessly, and to become intimate with pain. When you become intimate with pain, you also become intimate with all of life. But if we're unwilling to be intimate with pain, we're basically saying I'm unwilling to be intimate with a lot of this world. And it's creating a division between us and life. So yeah, the nature of consciousness, the nature of reality, the nature of this world, the nature of our being is bliss, is spacious bliss. And so I notice this even within myself. If I'm not feeling blissful, normally there's something I'm avoiding, or I'm too much up here in the transcendent. And the invitation is, can I come down into my being fully? Can I come down into my being? Yeah. And again, I wouldn't expect it to be like the experience you had when you were with Krishnamurti. But if you look inside, I would definitely expect to find bliss. And so we want to be careful, how we define bliss. Bliss doesn't have to be overwhelming ecstasy. Bliss can also be just the experience of, say, this aliveness, of the dancing aliveness that's looking out of your eyes right now. The dancing aliveness that's animating your being right now. A dancing aliveness that's in everything. That's in the wall, that's in the trees, that's in the sky, it's in the ocean. That's in your children, or your dog, or your cat. All of this world is dancing with bliss. If you feel into, say, the energy of aliveness, it feels wonderful. It feels beautiful. It feels like ecstasy. And so put your attention in that. And be willing to feel fully into things. And see for yourself. See if what I'm saying resonates, or you find it to be true. And then let me know. Let me know how it goes. Okay, you can send me an email or talk to me on Skype or whatever. I'd be interested to hear about it. Okay, so also I've received a bunch of, some more questions about energy, more questions about Kundalini. We get a constant flow of these questions. Hi, Craig. I want to thank you for your YouTube videos that have helped me with with my bug, is what he calls it, is how I call my Kundalini. This fellow's from, I think he's from Spain, and so his English is a little bit different than our English, but I think I get the gist of it. Can you help me with the ringing in my left ear? It's constantly ringing. I'm going crazy, although the energy moves freely up and down my body, but it seems stuck in my head. Do you have any advice? Thank you. Sure. And so again, a lot of the problems that we have with energy, whether it's Kundalini energy or energy we experience during spiritual awakening, is because we look at our energy through the eyes of our ego. We look at the rising energy, we look at our experience, rather, through the eyes of ego. When you look at your experience through the eyes of ego, you're going to judge your experience. You're naturally going to judge it. This is good, this is bad. I like this, this feels good. I don't know what this is, how do I get rid of it? This is overwhelming. I want to get rid of this because I feel like I'm going crazy or whatever. Part of Kundalini awakening is surrendering to something greater than yourself. When you surrender to something greater than yourself, you have to be willing to let go of all of your biases. And so this doesn't have to be about Kundalini awakening. This can be about any kind of awakening. Anything on the spiritual path is, can we surrender to something greater than our own mind? And what that basically means is we let go of our beliefs, we let go of our opinions about pain, about what feels good, about what I want, what I need, my agenda. So this is a radically different way of living. And so as the Kundalini energy, it rises up your spine, and it forces you to face all these things within you. You may have some crazy experience like overwhelming heat, panic attacks, weird neurological things. You may have an experience of, say, ringing in your ears. And I invite you to look at that ringing, to experience that ringing fresh and new, to experience that ringing in a friendly way, in an open-hearted way. Your mind will judge it and say, it's bad, it's driving me crazy. The fact is you have a lot of energy in this place, whatever side, the left side or right side, which you call your ear. If you open to that energy, give it permission to flow through you, I imagine you will discover something quite wonderful. That this energy is not what you thought it was. That this energy, say, is a purifying force. It's a force of power. It's a force of bliss. It's a force of wisdom. As crazy as that sounds, I invite you to open to your own painful experience. You're welcome to go to the doctor and get yourself checked out at the doctor. You're welcome to try anything that you can physically to change it. But I feel energy moving in different parts of my body all the time. Right now, if I just become quiet, I notice a very high-pitched sound of Om here in the space of my mind. If my mind judged it, I would say, this is crazy, this is driving me nuts. But I don't have a mind that judges it. I just experience it as a high-pitched Om. And when I feel into it, it feels wonderful. It feels pristine. It feels brilliant. Now, if someone's untrained and not knowing how to sit with energy, not knowing how to open to energy, I can absolutely see how these energies would drive you crazy. I've had all kinds of energies download into me, and I felt like I was about to explode or go crazy or go absolutely nuts. My teacher always told me, whenever I went to him and I had a complaint and said, I'm experiencing unbearable pain, whether it was pain of some energy downloading into me, or if it was pain from sadness or anger about life or loss or whatever. And you would always say, can you open to the pain? Can you see what it truly is? Can you see what it has to teach you? Can you look at it new? And my ego would actually get quite upset and say, how can you say this? You don't understand. You gently smile, patiently sit there, and we'd open to it together, and guaranteed every time I found something quite wonderful. Oh, wow. I once felt like, I was having terrible migraines for months. When I fully opened to it, I discovered the energy of bliss. The mind called it migraines, but as I opened to it, I discovered bliss. An ongoing, overwhelming stream of bliss. How wonderful is that? How wonderful is that? And so I hope that was helpful for you. I get so many questions like Kundalini. I'm trying to answer them all at once here. And just the overall thing is, when we have energies coming into us, we have to remember we're not just humans here. We're divine beings. And so as a divine being, you're going to have energies moving through your body. As a divine being, you're going to be the evolving edge of the universe. To be an evolving edge of the universe means there's going to be purifying energies moving through you. And sometimes when purifying energies move through you, they don't feel good. But if you take some deep breaths, sometimes you have to take deep breaths for 6 months or 6 years. I tell this story, I think almost every week I had chronic back pain for 8 years. It's terrible pain. Sometimes it even flares up still. But when I open to it, I experience bliss. Sometimes it's difficult to open to it. And so I have to be willing to bear it, to feel it fully, to honor it fully, to sit with it fully. And of course, just in a really human way, by all means, be gentle with yourself, take care of yourself, have a good diet, go on some walks in nature, move some energy, go to the gym if that's helpful, go for a walk on the beach, be gentle with yourself. But overall, we're divine beings, and we are the evolving edge of God, one of the evolving edges of God. And so evolution is actively happening on us, in us, as us. We are the spiritual path. The path is a path of evolution. It's constant, ongoing evolution. So there's the path of, say, waking up to your inherent spacious divinity, which is here in every moment. It's pregnant with all potential. So that's the Buddhist realization. And the realization of the Buddha, just waking up to, say, the quiet, vast emptiness. And there's a realization of our dynamic nature. And so can you wake up to this dynamic nature and allow this energy to move through you as you? What's required there is that we don't argue with the energy, we don't fight with the energy, we don't resist the energy. We don't even see ourselves as separate from this energy. And I was speaking with someone earlier today about, say, the Kundalini energy, and they're saying, oh yeah, this energy is coming within me, but it's arising within me. But what I'm pointing out is this energy is not separate from you. This energy is you. They said, oh, if this energy is me, I don't have to fight with it. I don't have to argue with it. I don't have to resist it. And it's like, yeah, you can't resist it. How could you resist this energy? You can try, but you'll suffer. And so the invitation is can you give yourself over to what you are? You are a force of evolution in this world. Can you open to that force? Can you allow it to move through you as you? and not see it as energies coming into you from the outside, but almost like these energies are you and they're waking up in you as you. It's a radically different way of seeing and experiencing life. It's not God doing this to me. It's not life doing this to me. I am life. I am life. And so we can even allow this teaching to spill over into, say, practical everyday life. Someone comes to you and they're angry. Can you meet them with love? Can you relate to them as you're relating to your own self? Can you see this person as a movement of evolution? They come to you with anger. Do you meet them with anger? Or do you meet them with love? If they come to you with craziness, do you meet them back with craziness? Do you believe their craziness? Or do you meet them with truth? Do you meet them with clarity? Do you meet them with comfort? And can you imagine that you are just meeting your own self? Because that's really what's happening. It's really what's happening. Can you meet your kids with this love and see that your children are you? And that there's no separation here, there's no division. And so I think that's all I'm going to do for questions tonight. I think there's some more in there, but I'm just feeling like this is a good place to stop with the questions. And I invite you now, if you haven't already been doing this, just to check in. Or you can call this meditation if you want. Just to notice your energy. Notice to say the transmission that's taking place now. And being open to receiving something greater here. And to receive something greater, you might just imagine just opening your heart to a descent of grace, to a descent of, say, evolutionary energy, of heightened energy, of heightened sense of love. And can you allow this energy just to descend into you, to shower over you, while at the same time to simultaneously wake up within you. And you allow your heart to awaken to this very brilliant energy of light I'm feeling tonight. Like a very light-hearted and blissful light. Can you open to that? Can you breathe into it? Can you allow it to spread throughout the space of your mind? Can you allow it to spread throughout the space of your throat? Opening the throat. Allowing this energy to descend deeper into the heart, filling your chest, relaxing your shoulders, and your arms and your hands. Coming down into your belly, and your back. Just noticing such a brilliance here. Such a love, such a wonder. You open to receiving. You may notice as this energy comes more fully into you, you feel more spacious, more vast, more free. Perhaps even a little bit disoriented, and that's okay. Can you be comfortable being this big, this vast, this huge? Can you be comfortable with opening to receiving? Say a purifying light or a guiding light, an awakening light. And this energy to fully descend out, into your pelvis. Just noticing how quiet it is within you. How spacious and yet how very brilliant. How fortunate we are to meet in this way. Oh, how very fortunate we are to meet in this way. So just allow this energy to go all the way down through your pelvis, through your legs, into your feet, into the floor. See as that energy goes down into the earth, changing, say, the vibratory structure of your being. Or even imagine that it's impacting the earth as well. It's almost like heaven is descending down into us, through us, into matter and into the earth. And you may even notice, say, the earth waking up, and then an energy rising up from below, coming up through your feet. This energy is a little bit different. There's a sense of groundedness to it, a sense of power, but also a sense of, say, pristineness as well. Awakening in your feet. Maybe it's beginning to gently move up your legs, your thighs, your pelvis. We don't want you to force anything, but it's more like we're just opening. Just opening to this movement of grace. Grace from above, grace from below. And simultaneously, all of us, all of our inherent nature is waking up as well. It's like three things going on at once, but they're in no way divided. So that energy is coming up from below and it's merging with this heavenly energy that's coming down from above. It feels as if there's the hugest sense of love here. Very brilliant, purifying love. It's undeniable. I feel so blessed to be able to share in this evening. And so the invitation here is just to notice what your experience is, your direct experience. If any of you are struggling with your mind or emotions, the invitation is just to unhook from them. Just to fully notice what you are, what your experience is in an energetic way. What does it feel like in your hands and your feet, your thighs and your pelvis? What is your direct experience of your heart, of your belly? Of your back, of your shoulders, the back of the skull, the space of your mind? give yourself fully over to this grace? Can you give yourself over fully to this hugeness of divinity? To allow it to guide you, to deeply affect you. On all these different levels of your being. You allow this grace to quiet your mind, to empty out your mind, to burn up your thoughts, to purify your emotional nature. To heal any wounds or sadness or anger. In a very trusting way, an open-hearted way, can you let God do the work? You let God heal you, transform you. You let her have her way with you. I'll simultaneously show up in you as you. Seems quite paradoxical to speak in this way. I invite you just to allow this energy to fully have its way with you. Fully awaken within you as you. There's something quite profound happening here. Can you be fully willing to give yourself over to it? Fully open to receiving this hugeness of divinity. Can you fully give yourself over to this movement of love? And so I invite you to sit with this for a little while longer. In the meantime, I'm going to thank you all for showing up this evening. Thank you for all of you who have joined me from all over the world. If you feel moved to, I ask you to please offer a donation on my website or on the YouTube channel to support these teachings and help to spread these teachings to others who may be interested. I invite you to join us at the Satori School if that resonates with your heart. Of course, you're always welcome to come join me on any of the satsangs that I offer, whether it's in Durango or Boulder. Or my next big visit will be in Northern California in San Rafael, the Unity of Marin Church, March 22nd at 5:30. I think those are all my announcements. I want to thank you all so much for meeting with me. Please be gentle with yourself this evening or this morning, whatever time of day it is for you. And fully surrender more and more deeply to this movement of grace which you are. May peace be with you. And until next time, please take good care of yourself. Have a wonderful evening.